Happy New Year's, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful New Year's Eve. We are here to take down the NBA DFS slate for the 1st of January, 2021. You guys all made it. You made it through 2020 if you're watching this video. Congratulations on that alone.
Yeah, you made it. We're here. Everything's supposed to be so much different now, right?
It's not. It's the same. But yes, You're right. It is going to be all different, right?
It's
one difference is I actually like D'Angelo Russell tonight, if you can't tell.
Yeah, which is quite a bit different from anything that happened in 2020. So right off the bat, we're starting off. Wow, I mean, D'Angelo Russell cover boy.
Yeah, we won't see that one a lot. We'll get into here in a little bit, guys. But we talked about it yesterday. We did a couple of members-only videos for the public. I got a ton of views, ton of thumbs up. Thank you guys for that. Means a lot to us. Hope you guys enjoyed what you saw. I know we've had a few new customers sign up this morning, so hopefully, you guys enjoyed having the longer videos. We'll do some more of those occasionally for the public. You guys keep pounding the like button. We'll keep getting you guys the information for NBA.
Amen.
All right, so we get some requests for the overlay videos, guys, and we will try to do those more routinely. We won't have one today. It's New Year's Day. You got football to watch. I might have a little bit of a nap to take after staying up a little later than normal last night. But when overlay gets the contest up earlier in the day, we will do our best to make videos on them on a daily basis. I know there's a bunch of guys who ask them for us. Sometimes it's just hard because they're stuck in a situation of getting those contests out is relying on who's playing and who's not playing. So sometimes they can't get them out because of the way the NBA, modern NBA is, and then we can't cover them when they can't come out till later. So none of this is our fault. None of this is their fault. It's all about the way the NBA is and players just sitting all the time.
It's impossible for them to get them out earlier because you'd have matchups up that would be, too easy because guys are out, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you 100% there.
But on the days it's applicable and the teams get us the information and get them the information and they get it out and we can cover it, we'll do it. It's just, modern NBA throws these things for a curveball from time to time.
For sure.
All right, guys. So current 5-pack promotions, again, wanted to thank you all for all the heavy amounts of likes. If you want to start out 2021 on a bang and you want to get an annual membership, this will cover you for the entire year of 2021. They are normally $200. We'll do 25% off today, which would make it $150. If you pay through the website, I will send you a rebate within a couple of hours. It'll be $150 for the full year. It's a hell of a price. It covers every sport we do. Otherwise, if you just want to pay manually, the PayPal and Venmo addresses are below. You can also do that.
This is such a great time, too. We're about to start NFL playoffs. NBA just started. MLB after that. So hyped about all that.
Yeah, man. You'll get the full MLB season when it starts. You get all of next year for NFL, minus a couple of games. You get the rest of this year. Day passes are available if you want to go a little bit lighter. Subscribe to the station if you're new to it. You guys know what the write-ups kind of look like. We've covered this. And we're going to stick with this new format, guys. We've got nothing but positive feedback on it. So I know you prefer it. I like it. And the only customers I've talked to and viewers I've talked to about it prefer the new method where we do one cash, one GPP, a mutual favorite, and then our long shots.
It's definitely my preferred way.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's start with the cash lock of the day. And let's talk about the greatest basketball player of all time, Raul Neto. Haha, not true. But he is coming off 2 of the 3 of his better games of his NBA life, which, that means something. It doesn't mean he's going to ball tonight, but he did drop 40 the other day and then 30 again last night, even with Russ in the game. So Russ is going to sit on virtually every back-to-back, at least one set of it this year. He hasn't officially been announced as out, but I would be flabbergasted if Russell Westbrook plays today. That has not been the plan all season, so expect him to be out. Neto, 3,400, probably the highest owned guy in the slate. He's got shooting guard eligibility if you don't want to waste a point guard spot on him. I could see a situation where he falters, but with how he's playing right now at this price point in a game that makes so much sense for DFS, I think you just roster him in cash and move the hell on.
See, yeah, of course you could see a way that he falters because it's Raul Neto. That's all you need to say, right? It's not like you need to go in that much further detail about it. However, I've mentioned this to you a couple times recently. The Wizards announcers have been talking about how good Raul Neto looked in the preseason, how he was the Wizards' best player in camp, and that's showing right now. And, let's say he does falter. His floor in this spot has got to be 15, which is still fine for a chalky 3,400 guy. We talked about it on our members only video. I think it's more likely that he hits 30 DK points than he hits under 12. And for 3,400, that's all you need. Lock him in and move on, even in tournaments.
You know what we didn't talk about in members only? We did bring up the other day. Check out Ish Smith. If you're looking for a GPP pivot, like Ish Smith is a guy that's probably going to get way overlooked tonight.
We did not talk about him at all on the members only video, which is interesting. I also feel like yesterday Neto's price was a little bit higher. Am I right there?
I don't remember, but I think you're right. I think it was like 4K.
Same.
All right, so we're going to move over to your top GPP guy of the day. And the only point that I'll address before I let you kind of ride into this one is I like good players. Now, Gordon Hayward's not a superstar, but he's on that kind of star precipice. And I like good players who are coming off of bad games. He shot 4-16 the other day. Sometimes the ball doesn't fall. It does not have anything to do with what's going to happen today.
You know, there are a lot of good players in the NBA right now. It seems like every year we go, it's like this is the year where it's the best players we've ever had. And it's no different this year. Hayward is a fringe all-star type player, and that's really good. He's a really, really good player. He's not a superstar, but he's really good. He's coming off, like you said, an awful game where he just shot horribly. He has the ball in his hands a lot. He's got the freedom and leeway to do whatever he wants. He can take whatever shots he wants. He's very affordable at 7K. As always, I'm interested in the mid-tier. I love the mid-tier. It seems like the mid-tier gets forgotten about a lot of times in tournaments. It's often where I plant my flag. In a game that I think is sneaky, I have a lot of interest in Hayward here at 7,100. And I know you like him too. It's not like I'm twisting your arm.
No, not at all. I do like him today. I always like the idea of attacking the mid-tier, especially within the GPP mold, because a lot of people don't try to do that. And sometimes taking 4 mid-tier guys instead of 2 studs might be an interesting way to try to explore like a different kind of slate. Also, the blowouts this year are real, guys. It is early in the season. We had a shortened preseason. Things are off a little bit. Yesterday, there was weird games again, and that might have been a byproduct of New Year's Eve, or it might have just been a byproduct of the fact that it's the way that this year has looked so far. I expect that to even out, but I don't know when that's going to even out. Now, we could be wrong. Been wrong before. We'll be wrong again. But we expect this game to be competitive. You know, Memphis got rolled on Boston the other day when Jaylen Brown was out there looking like reincarnated Kobe Bryant. Like, some days that just happens. He was on fire. We expect this game to be competitive. Doesn't mean it will be, but that means a lot in a year where it seems like 1 out of 3 games have like 25-point discrepancies on them.
For shizzle.
All right, guys, let's keep moving on down the list to the mutual play of the day. We already talked about him. His name is D'Lo, not Skilo. That's saying I wish I was a little bit taller, but D'Lo, D'Angelo Russell of the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is a good game for DFS. It's being highly targeted for a reason, and we kind of hinted on this in the beginning. You always like Russell way more than you should, and I never like him as much as you should, but today we're meeting in the middle at probably more of a realistic assessment of who D'Angelo Russell is, and we both like him in this spot because it's just a good game for DFS points. Without Cat around, this is a spot where he can go off, and he hasn't been very good the last 2 games from a DFS score, but that's because they played 2 really good Los Angeles basketball teams, and the Minnesota Timberwolves aren't good, so they were blown out. They didn't have to play in the 4th quarter. That is not what I expected today. I think he sees a full run of minutes. I would not be surprised if he hits 45-plus DK points here.
Again, it's another situation where like you never know when the blowout's going to come because you always like to say whoever hits threes, if one team gets really hot from 3, like it's likely to be a blowout. That being said, like if Minnesota blows out someone, you got to figure, especially without Cat, that D'Lo is having a big part to do with that. And I just don't see Washington blowing out Minnesota in this spot. Of course, anything could happen. It's just not a likely scenario. So Russell here at 7,500. Again, you mentioned no Cat in a really good spot against a tired Wizards team that's coming off a back-to-back, has to travel. He'll get a lot of love here. I don't like that. But again, his upside in a spot like this where Washington just doesn't have the defenders to stop him. D'Lo struggles against teams that are good defensively. Washington is not that team. A ton to like about him in this spot.
And you're right. You're not going to sneak up on anybody by targeting this game or specifically targeting D'Angelo Russell, who without Karl Anthony Towns around is their best player. But that's okay. Even if he's, say, 50% owned in tournaments, which maybe that's a little bit on the high end, but let's say he's 50% owned, who cares if he goes off? That means you need him. You know what I mean? Like there is a flip side of being chalky when playing somebody in tournaments, because when they have a really good game and you don't own them, now you're just out of it in your tournament. So like there are 2 sides of that equation. If you just think a guy's going to play well and you think he's giving you a good score, don't get overly concerned with his ownership because you're going to have somebody else in your lineup or 2 other somebodies that could be lower owned that could be the difference maker for you.
Exactly. The ownership on one guy just doesn't really matter that much. don't just fade someone because of ownership. Have a reason with it, because there'll be plenty of guys that get ownership, and there's plenty of guys to fade and play.
Yeah, so let's move into the long shot portion of today's video and talk about guys that we want to play that we don't think are going to get a lot of love. And I'll start with my Milwaukee Bucks. We got Bobby Portis at 4,500. Called him out as a long shot during the preseason. He went off that day, so he's been on my good side since then, and I've been watching him closely as I've watched this new look Bucks team with a ton of new moving pieces, how they're playing guys and what they're doing right here. So Bobby Portis in 5 games for Milwaukee has actually gone for over 25 DK points 3 times and over 30 twice. He's played more minutes this year than Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez is an older player. I'm sure they have his minutes more earmarked for the latter portion of the season. And I think Bobby Portis playing well is a big kind of like guy off the bench for the Bucks this year. So he can be a good DFS player. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who can put up good points. He's a good rebounder. He can block shots. He can hit 3-pointers when things are rolling in the right direction. This is a game with a massive total difference. I think Milwaukee's projected to win, or like they're like a 14-point favorite in this situation. Bulls on 3rd game in 4 night, missing a couple of players, tail end of a back-to-back with some travel. Like, if this game does get a little lopsided and Milwaukee plays well, like, Portis is going to see his run no matter what, but that's the type of situation where he could play an extra 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe if they're letting Giannis kind of chill over on the bench, he's out there, taking extra shots and things like that. I don't buy into the revenge narrative, nor do I think he cares about his times with the Bulls a lot. But if you're looking for even a little something extra, he's playing against his old team right here. I also think he comes in with next to no ownership because there's a lot of cheap guys on the slate that are probably in quote-unquote better plays on paper.
Yeah, so this is the type of guy I like to talk about a lot. Reminds me of like a Rajon Rondo. Like, he's going to put up DFS points when he gets good minutes. You just never know how many minutes he's going to get. But if you're under the impression that Milwaukee rolls here, which is a very solid impression to have because they're 15-point favorites against the team playing, back-to-back with travel, etc., Portis looks really good here because he's solid in any game script. But in a game script where Milwaukee rolls, he's got big-time GPP upside. He's the type of guy, again, he puts up DFS points whenever he's in there, and if he happens to get bigger minutes, he's got huge upside. He's not one of these guys that, these fringe small forward shooting guard types that might be starting in place of someone that'll play 30 minutes and never touch the ball.
Yeah, when he plays, he's a mixture of a guy that plays with the starters and then plays with the bench guys. So he's relatively game script proof because he's going to at least get you a little bit of a floor. You just need the game to work out in your favor to hit the upside, which is why he's a long shot play and not a cash game lock.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to talk about Matt's long shot of the day. And this is not a long shot in the sense that, like, he needs a lot to work his way to play well. It's more of a long shot in a game where you just think that Curry, from a superstar perspective, maybe won't get as much love as some of the other guys. Like, what would be your forecast early in the day of what Curry comes in like your bigger money tournaments for ownership?
8%.
Okay.
That's just like, I just can't see him being higher than 10, like that much higher than 10%. And again, I could be completely off here. There's times where we expect someone to be 10% and they're 30% owned. It's just, especially after roster building on our members only video, it's hard to get to Curry on this slate.
Yeah, it's still difficult to make guesses like this in the beginning of the season. The other day when I talked about Kevin Durant for cash games, like when we opened up that slate during the day, like my first thought was Kevin Durant should be 90% owned today because it seems painfully obvious. And then he was only like a third owned. So I'm like, damn, I was way off. Maybe I just looked at this differently. And I'm glad he played well because I would have felt like kind of a jackass if he hadn't.
For sure.
So I don't know what Curry's ownership is today. I tend to kind of agree with you in the 5 to 15% mold, but I don't really know for sure. There's plenty of other studs to roster. There's 10 games going today. And my question is, like, do you think Draymond being back today gives a little pep in the step to Golden State?
I do. I mean, they also were 2-2 on their road trip. They looked awful in a couple games, but then they put it together in the last 2 games. They started to play with a little bit of confidence. Draymond being back cannot hurt that. We know who Curry is. We know his upside. It's a long shot in the exact sense that you said it. It's not like we don't know who Curry is. It's not like we don't know if he's going to get the minutes, but superstar at low ownership, especially a guy like Curry with his 3-point upside in a matchup that suits him well, potentially going one-on-one with Dame, as you mentioned there. Again, this isn't a guy that's a lock in an optimal lineup, But Curry at what I expect, again, to be 5 to 10% ownership is really intriguing to me in a game that I think is going to be very competitive.
So another reason that Curry won't be super chalky today, and something that we usually address more in the members only videos as far as why guys won't be super high owned, is Raul Neto is going to be chalk, and D'Lo is going to get some love. Yep. Bradley Beal is going to get some love. There's just not a lot of guard spots left to roster people, which is why in the latest of late games, where people won't all stay up to watch this because they're tired from New Year's Eve and everything like that, Curry will get a little bit overlooked because it's the last game by 90 minutes. And another reason you like guys in late games, one, they usually go a little bit overlooked because people want to, get into their action early. But also it gives you more opportunities for late game pivots. Like yesterday, I had way too many Pacers in my lineup. And then you're like messaging me about all the guys sitting out, and I'm trying to run errands. Like I couldn't swap in Otto Porter because I was just busy. And like when you are paying attention to this stuff late in the night and now you have roster spots available, you get the flexibility to do something like that.
And whenever with COVID now, like you just never know when this shit's going to happen. Like you just don't know. It's plausible that like a couple of guys from Portland are out tonight and then they become really good plays and no one can roster them. So that's not like a reason to use those guys, but it's something to, feather in the cap, if you will.
Well, I mean, if you're looking to try to get that edge, there are a lot of people who are just busy once the slate starts and they don't get to like read into that stuff a little further. Also, I know like from my perspective, and it's just the human side of things, like once I'm pretty set on my guys, I don't like making knee-jerk reactions and switching, which some days that's great and other days it's a mistake not to do it. But if you can be kind of calm, cool, and collective about that and make the switches when they're better, that's maybe an edge you're going to have over other people. Another thing for Curry, like we haven't seen him get red hot yet this year. One of these games, dude's going to hit 8 or 9 3-pointers, and it's just going to start rolling.
No doubt about it.
So we know he's the greatest shooter of all time. He also hasn't played a lot of NBA basketball over the last year and a half.
No, he hasn't. And he finally, he's shown stretches where he's gotten it together. But you're right. He hasn't gotten hot for a complete game yet. When that happens, watch out. And, man, all the points you said about the late game, like one-on-one versus Dame, really tickling my fancy.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this. That Curry has – he's still taking his 10 3-pointers every game. 5 of 15 against Chicago was kind of like starting to get it together. And then he went 5 of 9 against Detroit the other day. So one of these games where he shoots like 8 of 12 or 9 of 16 or something like that game is coming. And his assist totals have been down a little bit the last couple of games. One of these days, his teammates will make their shots. Like it doesn't mean it's tonight, but there's going to be a Curry like 65-point game coming. Not 65 real-life points, but 65 DK points.
I agree.
So that's it, guys. If you can slide your fingers over the thumbs up button, we appreciate that. It helped us a ton. We'll continue to pound some of this NBA information for you guys. And if you want an annual membership and want to start your 2021 year the right way, we got that 25% discount available to those new customers today.
Let's get it, guys.